The show starts in 1 minute.
Please remember to replace the speaker on the post when you leave the theater. And now, on with the show.
Hello and welcome to episode 65, can you believe it, of Saturday Matinee Theatre, brought to you by your friends at the Longbox Crusade. We're back in Gotham City in our recording studio set up in one of the many unused rooms in stately Wayne Manor. I am your host, Jared Albrecht, the yard sale artist. Joining me, as always, is the Robin to my Batman, is Pat Sampson, a.k.a. DJ Christatos. How are we feeling today, boy wonder Christatos?
Well, Jared, let me tell you, I'm kind of out of breath, but I don't know if it's because my doctor has prescribed me some smokes. You know, being a boy wonder, I'm like, are you sure you want me? Am I old enough to have these?
It's hard to say.
Is it okay? I wasn't sure.
But, you know, most doctors will prescribe you some smokes.
Yeah, you know, but what I found out is later on, me and Batman, you know, we got in a fight. Remember when we got in that fight with those gangsters? I was getting my butt whooped.
Yes.
I was out of breath.
All right, yeah. We'll have to figure that one out. Whew. Also joining us is the laziest Alfred Pennyworth of all time, is my brother Jason the Weasel Skull. Albrecht, how are we today, Jason?
Man, I'm telling you, I'm getting concerned. I'm about ready to call CPS. Robin's just been walking around drooling on himself, just, you know, moaning and groaning. I think he might have a concussion. I mean,
maybe.
I think maybe Bruce Wayne needs to think twice about bringing a 14-year-old boy into a fist fight with a bunch of men. Or he's a 40-year-old man. Nobody should be taking a pound into the head like that. Things have got to change. That's it.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm about to call him.
Here, have one of these cigarettes here. Just take your time.
Take that edge off. Take that edge off. You know?
Oh, yeah, sorry. I only smoke Camels. Doctor's orders.
We'll get to it, folks. We also have with us the most incorruptible lawman of the city. It's Commissioner Delvin the Dark Web Williams. How do you do, Commissioner?
I'm pretty good. And just to let you guys know, in order to save the city and, you know, make sure that it is not evil, I'm prepared to blow this son of a, you know what, up. I'm prepared to blow it up. The whole thing. I'll do it.
The most dangerous animals, when they're cornered, man, get cornered, start setting charges.
That's true. That's true. Boom! That's right. Now, that's just a test.
You scared me.
I didn't actually blow it. In the case of an actual emergency, though, that would have been a bomb. I would have blown it up.
All right. So there you have it, folks. There's a lot going on tonight, so let's get to it. Pat, would you be so kind as to give a show description in case we have some new listeners? This is your first time with us here to Gotham, and well, if it is, welcome.
Well, Jared, I'm glad you asked. And let me tell you about Saturday Matinee Theatre. It's a retro review show brought to you by the Longbox Crusade, where we'll be taking you back to the past with some potentially overlooked retro awesomeness in the realm of television, movie serials, or films. Basically, if it's vintage and it's kind of forgotten, we're going to dig it up. On this episode, we'll continue our dive into 1943's Batman serial. 1943's Batman serial was produced by Rudolph C. Flortho. It starred Lewis Wilson as Batman and Douglas Croft as Robin. So grab your Batarang, fire up the Batmobile, and swing into adventure. But don't forget to make sure you pack that lunch basket full of refreshments. Tasty sandwiches.
Sounds good. Okay, before we hand it over to Delvin for this episode's info, let's take a look, or in this case, a listen to a commercial that would have been playing at the time this episode was released back in 1943. This will help us get into the right time frame of mind, if you will, and transport us back to the 40s. For this episode's commercial retro rewind, we have Camel cigarettes.
You know, if you were to follow a busy doctor as he makes his daily round of calls, you'd find yourself having a mighty busy time keeping up with him. Time out for many men of medicine usually means just long enough to enjoy a cigarette. And because they know what a pleasure it is to smoke a mild, good-tasting cigarette, they're particular about the brand they choose. In a repeated national survey, doctors in all branches of medicine, doctors in all parts of the country were asked, "What cigarette do you smoke, doctor?" Once again, the brand named most was Camel. Yes, according to this repeated nationwide survey, more doctors smoke Camels than any other cigarette. Why not change to Camels for the next 30 days and see what a difference it makes in your smoking enjoyment? See how Camels agree with your throat. See how mild and good-tasting a cigarette can be.
Jason, I would like to hear your... hang on. Excuse me. Whew. I'd like to hear your thought on the cigarettes commercial.
Well, it was a different time, wasn't it, fellas?
Yes, it was.
Yeah. I guess...
I don't know where to start either, Jason.
Where do you start on this? Like, they had to know, right? I mean, they were doctors, right? Okay, let's put it this way. I don't trust shit my doctor says anymore. Not a word that comes out of his mouth. You know, I'm sorry. I'm a doctor. I know better. Yeah, the doctors in the 40s were prescribing people Camels. You know, not just cigarettes, Camels. And then at the end, there's this good-looking woman that's also puffing away. Like,
that's right. That's right.
A little innuendo there. So I was like, holy cow. This, it's just a different time. I'll leave it at that. It was a different time.
Delvin, pick up the ball and run with it.
I have something that may or may not blow your mind that I thought about this commercial. They're clever. They were super clever. I thought going into that commercial that doctors were going to use their medical opinion to recommend Camel cigarettes. That is not what happened. They asked doctors what cigarettes do they prefer to smoke. And the doctors said Camel cigarettes. They never use their medical opinion whatsoever in that commercial. And when I saw it, I'm like, that is devious.
Diabolical. It's all innuendo. It's all innuendo.
That was so devious. I was like, oh my goodness, that is, oh wow. Just wow. Because I thought that, doctors were going to give their medical opinion, but they didn't. They never once gave their medical opinion. They simply said that I, as a doctor, if I am going to smoke a cigarette, I am going to smoke a Camel cigarette. Didn't say anything about health value or anything, but they put there wide on the screen that these doctors just prefer these cigarettes. It was so deviously done. Just crazy.
It goes even deeper than that, though, because, this is the 1940s, so all the doctors are men, right? So it's like, okay, women that are watching this, we got the men, but this
and then threw the pretty lady at the end of it, too. Yeah, just, ooh. That was a rather sinister piece of advertisement, Jared.
All right, let's hear from Pat. He's the only one of us that's a former smoker, so his opinion on these Camels is going to be paramount. What do you got, Pat?
Well, as someone who did dabble in this back then, I think Delvin put a better take on it, because my thought was going, hey, this doctor's saying it's okay to do this, and I prefer some Camels and all that. I was like, whoa, this is very weird and to see, but then I had to put myself back in the time. That's what they did, and there's, people smoking in the office, people doing everything they did. I was just really taken back by them just saying, hey, if you're going to smoke, take it from me. I'm smoking Campbell's because it's better quality, okay, I can dig that, but interesting, I guess, and, being a former smoker, I dabbled for a while, had a partially collapsed lung, yada, yada. I stopped. Medically, it's probably not good for you. Just telling you, right?
I think we've established
The evidence is in, folks. Pat says don't do it. But Dr.
Were you
Jared
a Marlboro
says,
man, or did you smoke the Camel?
I was the Marlboro guy. I like the Marlboros, yeah. Mint, or Cools, But anyway, it's not about what I smoked. You guys know me. I like my pipes and I like my stuff. So
Yeah, you moved on to other imports and exports.
More sophisticated.
Yes. But no heroin.
no heroin. He's got his own.
really. But I guess that's really where the smoking hot babe came from, was from this commercial. That girl's smoking hot. And she was smoking. And pretty attractive.
Man, oh man. Times have changed. All right, but like the script says, now that we're in our 1940s mindset, so light up smoke if you got them, boys. Here's Delvin with the episode info.
Jared, you got to take smaller puffs, my friend.
I'm not doing good.
It's okay. While Jared's recovering, I will read episode info. Chapter 8 was titled Lured by Radium. It was released September 3rd, 1943. The director was Lambert Hillier, with writers Victor McLeod, Leslie Swabacker, and Harry L. Frazier, with guest stars J. Carol Naish as Dr. Tito Daca, William Austin as Alfred, and Charles Middleton as Ken Colton. As a reminder, all 15 episodes are available on YouTube. We highly encourage you to watch this episode before proceeding with this podcast, because not only is it just more fun that way, but Jared is about to give a synopsis about this episode, and then we're going to discuss it. So there are probably some spoilers heading your way. If you haven't watched this episode, we recommend you pause here, go check it out on YouTube, and then come back to join our discussion. And at about 20 minutes per episode, not really that big of a time demand. For those of you who are watching along with us, we would love to hear your insights. Don't forget to comment about the show on Twitter using the hashtag #I'mFollowingBatman. Jared, are you okay? Are you ready?
Hashtag I'm following Batman.
Oof, we're working on it. Jason.
Hashtag I'm following Batman.
See, Jason can handle it like a pro. Pat.
Hashtag I'm following Batman.
And hold on. Refreshing. Hashtag I'm following Batman. And with that, let's turn it over to Jared for the episode summary.
When last we saw Batman, he fell down an elevator shaft, or I think he was actually thrown down, and an elevator was on its way down to crush him. Luckily, the boy, Wonder, comes to in time to cut the power to the elevator. It's quick thinking. Meanwhile, Linda is still concerned about her Uncle Martin and is convinced that Ken Colton's disappearance is connected to her uncle. Linda convinces Bruce and Dick to go with her to Colton's radium mine. Meanwhile, Colton does his best to resist the tortures of Dr. Daca, but he finally succumbs and reveals the location of his mine. So Daca's goons load Colton and 6 other grown men into their car and head to the mine, stopping only to be a-holes to a Native American gas station owner along the way. But crafty Ken Colton dupes his captors and flees into the mines. And oh, by the way, he has a secret passage he uses to get back to his cabin, where he finds Linda and Alfred, since Bruce and Dick have headed into the caves. There's a lot going on. Try to keep up. As Batman and Robin, they confront 4 of the 6 goons as Colton rigs the mines to blow. 2 of the goons have gone back to check in the cabin, and they knock out Alfred. Anyway, everybody except unconscious Alfred ends up in a big fist fight down in the mines, and the plunger is accidentally pressed. Who lived, who died, find out next episode.
Good summary, though.
Thanks, man. There's a lot going on. This was a particularly good episode of The Adventures of Ken Colton featuring Batman. Okay, let's get into the highs and the lows of this episode. In the honor of kickoff, this episode goes to Pistol Packin' Pat.
Woohoo! 2 guns smoking. Yeah. All right. Well, as you said it before, this episode was all about Colton. So Colton is the man of action in this one. Definitely. And I liked it. There was a lot going on in this one that took me by surprise because it wasn't just your normal episodes that we've kind of seen where it's little story development, action, something, and then action again, and then suspense. This was more some character moments here. So I really liked what was going on.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough. Over to you, Jason.
There was a lot of action in the episode. Kind of started with a recap of the fight and seeing Batman get thrown down into the elevator shaft there. Fairly decent, good resolution of the cliffhanger. And then there was also that big fight back in the tunnels, which I thought was pretty good. I mean, they were brawling, man. They were straight brawling. We were talking like Spartans at the hot gates there for a while. They were just throwing haymakers and just bouncing people off of rock faces. It was just crazy. So a couple good action scenes. So I'll start with a high for the action in this one.
I will add whap, 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 whap. And like they didn't take an immediate either. Like,
no, the gangsters were like, they had like +10 to their armor or something.
I mean, once again, Batman and Robin struggled more than they probably should, but they didn't take an immediate. Delvin.
Yeah, they weren't quite Beatman or Batman like I coined them last. Batman.
You hosted that episode before because I was gone, but I laughed heartily at Beatman and Batman. That was excellent.
Yeah, not quite. I'll give me a little bit of leeway. One's kind of a what the, and one is a high. The what the, very quickly, I didn't quite buy that Robin saved Batman because how did Robin even know that he was down the elevator shaft? He was knocked out cold. And I saw that, was like, okay. All right, sure. And also, I didn't quite understand why the goons needed to leave in a hurry. They could have actually waited until they heard crunch, crunch, crunch. Oh, yep, he did. It left. They didn't have to wait.
That gone.
He would have been Batman for real then, because he would have been flat as a pancake. The very quick high is I definitely like the storytelling in this one, how they all wound up at the mine. They all did have a reason to be there. And then it was like, some people were at the house and some people were at the mine. And then the decision was already made to blow up the mine, but it was made like without knowing that there were still like good guys at the radium mine. So that was pretty cool. I like it because, they all have reasons to want that radium or want it gone. So they all had a reason to be there in one place and one time. That was very well constructed.
Well, as we get ready to reload and go through our second round, I will do my usual ad of something that I loved. And I tell you what I can't get enough of in this series, period. We've seen it once before with Alfred, and then we got to see it. I think we've seen it once before with Linda. We got to see it again. I just love it when Bruce and Dick clearly enjoy being a-holes to other people. Like, they're like, how like in the comics, like he's like, as Bruce Wayne, I have to pretend to be kind of aloof and a jerk sometimes, but like they are completely they're like ribbing each other like, oh, Linda, you dumb girl.
You'll never guess who we are.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, we could go save your uncle, but also we're rich. We don't care.
I was laughing so hard. I was like, they clearly enjoy it a little too much. That's what I took away from it.
I thought it was an innuendo too, and he's like, I need to pack the trailer. And she's like, oh yeah, you need to pack this trailer.
You're like, what kind of cereal is this? I mean, I'd watch it, but all right, let's go around the horn again, which means we're back to Pat.
Well, I think you guys have kind of said it all. This was, again, an interesting episode to me that I was surprised on it, but I was really brought into it. I guess I had what is when Batman fell, you could see that he hit the ground. It's like whack. Like, wouldn't you be knocked out or something?
It was a dummy, but that dummy hit hard.
Yeah, I was like,
the way the leg went, it looked like he broke his leg.
Yeah, I was like, really? And face down on it. I was like, that had to be.
It's me, Bruce.
Face down, bats up. That's
the
wait,
way
never
we
mind.
like it.
Never mind.
But yeah, it is interesting. I just like the character moments in here. I have to say it again. So,
All right. Just a good overall vibe from Pat. Pat, I'm so disappointed. You usually have like 9 things in your notebook.
well, I do have bats fights. If you want me to go into bat fights, we can go into that real quick.
Do bat fights. Let's do bat fights.
Yeah. Okay. Well, of course, as we see in the beginning again, we have bat fights. Batman fights the gangsters.
Loses.
Batman fights the elevator.
Kind of makes it up. Yep,
Yeah.
You made it up.
Batman fights the fall.
Wow.
Ow, my leg.
Fights
Batman
gravity.
fights gangsters in a cave.
It's like his home turf.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's true. He was in a cave or interesting. And then Batman fights dynamite explosion. Really win? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. So yeah, there's some good fisticuffs in this one. Over to you, Jason.
Yeah, I suppose the other high is Colton. Colton is, he's just a little bit crazy and crazy enough to be interesting. This guy, he holds his own at least as well as Batman and Robin. And, you know, to me, it says it all when he just whips out that thing. Like, okay, number one, like you just have this dynamite lying around in your house, but okay. I get it. You're a minor, but maybe store that a little safer, you know. But he breaks out the dynamite. He says, "I'm gonna blow this son of a gun up before I let anybody else take it over," and he means it. And that's what leads us to this thrilling cliffhanger here at the end. So, yeah, Colton's interesting cat, man of action, and I like him.
He resisted the dock of torture early in the episode, right until he got the zombie helmet put on, and then he was like, all right.
Which I guess, yeah, I guess that is kind of a what that I had. Like, he resisted the torture still, and he just like, it just really hurt. I don't want to do it again. But he didn't get turned into a zombie like everybody else, which I thought was interesting.
And I thought, wouldn't it be in Doc's best interest to just zombify him?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
Or maybe once he's zombified, will he be able to remember how to get to the mine? That could be the hard thing.
That would have been my thought, that he would not have remembered how to get to the mine. So he wanted to give him an opportunity to that. I was willing to accept that.
That's what I'm thinking. Anyway, Delvin, it's your mic. Drop it like it's hot.
I'm actually kind of done. I do agree with Jason. What he said. Colton to me is the star of the whole series right now. He's the one that's out there, you know, kicking butt, and Daka wants the radium more than anything else. Batman doesn't have the radium. Colton does. And Colton's willing to kick butt and take names for it. So, like, maybe they should just change the name from Batman to Colton. You know? No, Colton. Yeah. I'm just saying. All right. Change, and Batman just has some really big redeeming arc where he comes across as, you know, a bad. I'm rooting for him. I am. But right now, they just kind of seem like cogs in the wheel, but the main wheel seems to be Colton.
All right. I have 2 questions about this episode and 1 observation. So basically, I'm Pat here at the end. But my question number 1, do you think they could have fit any more dudes into that car on the ride to the mine? And I'm amazed. Like, those were all like lackey henchman dudes, and they still looked relatively comfortable.
They had elbow room and everything.
I'm like, man, where are those cars now?
And then you got Colton kind of just hanging out there. Oh, yeah, you got to take a right coming up here, go to the house, but the left, you got to take it to the mine.
And I'm glad you said that, Pat, because that leads me to question number 2. It seemed like when Bruce, Dick, and Linda showed up to the Native American gas station, that dude actually said Colton doesn't have a mine. It's just a series of caves. Yeah. And then he said something like, because Colton said, you go up here and make a left. And he's like, if you go to the right, it's just caves. Like maybe there's a mine and I don't know. The Native American dude confused me when he went on that little spiel. I mean, I understand that you get like 2 bowls for $5. That part I got.
That was very clear.
But the part I didn't get was like it was almost like they wanted to put a plot twist in there. Like Colton doesn't actually have a mine or something.
Yeah.
That's what the Indian dude said. And I was just like, huh?
He doesn't have gold anywhere in there? Or is it just
it's radium, I thought, a radium mine. And then whatever. I'm not going to get too hung up on it. But while I'm talking about the Native American dude, That's my other observation. Like, apparently I'm just mildly amused when people are just jerks in the show, because the bad guy showed up and he's like, hey, we need some water. And he's like, the dude was like,
Right.
I got a whole bucket of water right here. Actually, he called him like Geronimo.
He called him Sitting Bull.
Sitting
and
Bull.
I'm like,
Oh,
Yeah, I was like,
you
guys are turds.
Yeah.
So that part, like, I was like, I'm with you, Delvin. I was like, you guys are turds. And then, like, to put, like, it went from being like, oh, you guys are turds, to almost funny, because then he puts the water in and then he just chucks the bucket back. Like, he doesn't put the bucket back where he got it. The bad guy, like, just chucks the bucket in the direction of where he got it from. And I was like, these guys are over the top turds. So, yeah, I got a chuckle out of that, not at the expense of the American guy, but just like how invested in being an a-hole that guy was.
He was quite invested.
He was all the way invested.
Meanwhile, Bruce got 2 for 5 on some pottery.
That's
man.
right.
So-
He was nice as a guy. Got 2 for 5. You know, that's the way it rolls. With that, let's get into fun facts with Jared. I just got one for you this time around. This one I found kind of interesting in doing some research. So when these serials were first ported to home media, they were put on VHS in the 1980s. And what's kind of interesting is, you know how we had that sort of eye-opening, like, ooh, hey, that didn't age well, sort of anti-Japanese sentiment. There's especially some key phrases in like the first episode. When they were released on VHS in the 80s, they were redubbed and those lines were taken out or softened. And what's kind of lost to time and is interesting about it is it's unclear who did it, because what had happened was Sony had bought the rights. So all of those tapes were going to Japan. So it's unclear whether on the American end, they cleaned it up before they sent it to their new bosses over in Japan, or if the Japanese end of it got them and said, no, we're not having this. And they're the ones that haven't cleaned up. It's kind of lost the time over who did it. And I read an interesting.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it kind of, and it gets more interesting, Don, because at the time it was kind of like a thing. Like people were discussing. I read this thing that a guy had written. He was concerned that it was Sony who had like redone them, because he was like, his big concern was, are they going to take a masterpiece classic movie? He specifically mentioned Bridge on the River Kwai. He's like, are they going to remaster that to where it's like a helpful construction project between two teams? Because if you've ever seen it, it's about soldiers in a Japanese prison camp forced to build a bridge. Like they forced these prisoners to build a bridge. So he's like, are we going to kind of gloss over history to make the Japanese look better now that they own, you know, the market? That was like a legitimate concern back in the 80s, pre-Twitter even. It was still like a legitimate concern. And
British officers will not work.
Is that your Alec Guinness? This wasn't bad. So anyway, I kind of went down this rabbit hole of this kind of being this touch point thing in the 80s when they first put them on VHS. Again, they were sort of cleaned up, sanitized, and they still don't know. I honestly think in retrospect, I think the guy whose article I read, he was probably overreacting. No, they're not going to remaster Bridge on the River Kwai to make themselves look better. I honestly think they were probably sanitized on the U.S. side before they were sent over there. But who knows? It's just an interesting thing. And so when they re-released them on DVD, they said, we're going to re-release them in their original form. That's why we get them in the raw version. You know, sometimes, you know, even the dark parts of history need to be confronted. So that's why they are the way they are. Although there's some more interesting nitnoids there, and that there's apparently some footage missing, a couple minutes here and there from a couple episodes on the DVDs, which appear on the VHSs. So they're like, why is there missing footage from something that we have on another format? So the whole history of these on home video, bizarre. And that's your fun fact for this episode.
That's interesting. That really is.
I thought so. I mean, I went down this rabbit hole, guys. I found a little nugget and I just kept scratching and digging. And it was just kind of wild. But ultimately, based off of what I read, my theory, I can't back this up with paperwork, is that they were sanitized on the American side on VHS before. Because, you know, Sony buys your company. You want everybody to get along. You know. And with that, let's get into the Batarang ratings. For this episode, 5 Batarangs means you loved it. 4 means you thought it was very good. 3, it was good. 2 is just okay. 1, I did not like it. Let's do some Batarangs. Let's start with Delvin.
Last episode, I was almost ready to give it a 2, and I was at like that lowest level of 3. And now I'm at least satisfied enough to keep it at a 3, like leaning more towards that 4. You know what I'm saying? I hope that the action. Yeah, I we don't do halvesies, so I'm now at least at that solid 3 level, and I would love to give the next episode a 4 or 5. So I'm hoping that it comes with it.
Fair enough, Pat.
I am going to give it a 3. I thought it was moved the story along pretty well for me. Got my interest.
All right, Jason.
I'm going to go with a 4. I like this one quite a bit. I like they got outside into the caves. I like Colton's house with the secret passages. I liked the interaction between Bruce and Dick with Linda. I thought that was pretty charming and funny.
They love it.
Oh, they do. I do have, like, wouldn't they be sporting all kinds of bruises after those whoopings they're taking? But, we'll set that aside.
Yeah, Mans completely got dropped down an elevator shaft.
Exactly.
Like,
at a minimum, if she shook his hand, it'd be like, his shoulder,
He walks in all cleaned up.
Front teeth, Sorry, Pat, what'd you say?
Oh, just going to say, they walk in later on with the meet Linda, and he's all, cleaned up, got a suit on and all that.
I actually
just fell down a shaft.
I actually thought he was like, I'm like, he's a handsome dude. But you don't see him, a lot in just like a close up of Bruce Wayne in the suit and all that. But like you said, Pat, he was all cleaned up and looking sharp. I was like, yeah, Lewis Wilson's a handsome cat.
I kind of thought, too, the last little thought I had was I like the trailer idea. It's like, yeah, we got to pack up the trailer because obviously he's carrying like his gear and stuff in there. It's like a little mobile bat cave he's got. I was like, that's kind of clever. So
it completely won Linda over. She was like, oh, right. Yes, I forgot we have to pack the trailer.
Of course, the trailer.
Why not the trailer?
So anyway, 4 for me.
Jason, I'm going to join you on the 4. And I'm going to give it the 4 pretty much based off of how invested I was in it. Like, it had so much moving it so fast. I was very invested in the whole thing from beginning to end. It kind of flew by. Like, that's kind of how I'm scoring them now. Like if it goes by real fast because so much happened, it gets a good score. If I'm like clearly padded episode, it starts dropping for me. And this one felt brisk. So I will join you with it.
Yeah. It almost had like that send in the clowns vibe to it,
I could. Could you imagine me? Imagine me, fellas, because this is real, sitting on my couch. Like, I watch it, and the way I do it is like when a scene ends or there's something significant, I pause and then I add to my synopsis. Pause. All right. Short version of what just happened. So I'm like, okay, so then the 2 goons left, and now there's 4 goons, and like there's math on my notes. There's arrows, caves, secret passageway to the house. Alfred was here. Nope, he's knocked out. Like it was so much to keep up with. It was crazy.
What is the combination to the trailer, too, that they had to unlock it?
I don't know.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Did they get changed in the trailer?
That's what
There's like a little door.
I don't know. Yeah, I was checking outside. I want to take a peek inside that trailer, see what all's in there. I did like Alfred, like trying to play it off after he runs into the 2 guys on the trail. Doctor says I got to be out walking every day.
You start walking this way. All right. Let's get into the Gotham City mailbag, and we're thrilled to kick these comments off with special shout-outs to our Crusaders Club members. The fine folks have joined our crusade. They enjoy early access to special Longbox episodes. They get to vote on show content. They get free raffle entries when we do our YouTube stuff, and so much more. These are the folks reaping the benefits and giving much appreciated support to the show.
Angelica Wolf.
Auburn Elvis.
Bill Beer.
Blast It. Horse Dash.
Braxton Underwood.
Captain Entropy.
Clinton Robeson.
Dave Collins, the Battle Wagon.
Gerald Green.
Jason Keene.
Jeremy L.
Jim Jarman. I hope you like Jim Jarman too.
Joe Thomas.
John Watson.
Josh Strickland.
Candace Ward.
Kathy Bright. MVP.
Mark Ross.
Monstrous Mark Hatherley.
Maxwell Traver.
Michael Wagner.
Miranda W.
P.D. Devon,
Paul Hicks,
Rick, Jeff and Rick present.
Rob Morgan,
Ross Michaud,
Ryan Daly,
Samantha Maney.
Sean Urbanski,
Spidey 67,
Steve Cronin.
Tim Price.
Tony Pennington.
and Toronto Cop.
If we miss anyone on the list, we apologize. Please keep in mind that we record these episodes well in advance of release, so if you're a recent addition, we'll add you soon. No worries. You can let us know we missed you by sending an email to contact@longboxcrusade.com. We'll straighten it out. You might be asking yourself, how do I become a Crusaders Club member? It's pretty easy. Go to patreon.com/longboxcrusade. $1 a month gets you access. 75% of the access, I think. 75, 80% access.
No, Jared.
No.
Go
for it, Pat. That's your line.
Jared, believe it or not, you are going to get all the access. I am talking all the access. This is more access than Colton gets.
Oof. For $1 a month.
$1 a month. Could you believe it?
Oh, you know what? That reminds me, as we record this, by the time it comes out, our annual packages will probably be sent out for our $5 and $10 members. Because you know what? We do send quote unquote birthday packages when people celebrate a year for at a $5 or $10 level. We send you some cool stuff. So that's one of the many benefits, you know? But hey, times can be tough. Sometimes you got to choose between Crusaders Club, putting gas in your car. So if you don't have any of that extra scratch laying around, you still want to help us out here at LBC headquarters, take a moment to write a review for Apple Podcasts, for the podcast, or wherever you're listening to it. We'd love to hear from you. Even if, you just want to give it one of those star ratings, that's cool too. We just like your feedback. All right. Now let's get to the shares, likes, and retweets from Chapter 7, which was The Phony Doctor.
We'll start with Trucker Talk.
Burn Elvis.
Chris at BTO and Bad Books. Let it roll down the highway.
Can get that energy up. All right, and I guess I have to do my own beat for unpacking the power of the power pack. Is the power pack power can't stop?
Sorry. Yeah, that works, dude. Days of High Adventure Podcast.
Fan Film Fridays.
Coffee and Comics.
Laurel Mountain Flower, whose leave of absence paperwork has come in for Action Film Face Off, and checking our records here, she still has not been to work in ever. Ever.
Did she file that paperwork herself by any chance?
Hard to say.
While you're thinking about that, Kevin Reitzel.
Tim Price.
And Helica Fetty Wolf.
Clinton Robinson.
Rick Heineken.
Siskoid.
Green Lantern HG.
So nice.
Yeah, glad to see him.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it is.
Ken Solo.
Dr. G.
It's probably supposed to be Jeff, and I think I mistyped it.
The car says moose.
I don't know, guys. Is this Hell Phillips?
Hef Phillips. Is it Jeff? You
I think it's Jeff.
Okay.
I think I missed the H is next to the J on the keyboard.
Okay. Jeff Phillips.
And Jeff Boone.
And that is a wrap on that. We didn't get any specific comments to Chapter 7, The Phony Doctor. So don't forget, folks, if you want us to read your comments, we will definitely do that here on the show. There's lots of places you can put those comments. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Lots of places to comment. You know how else you can comment? You can leave us a voicemail at 707-532-5269. Chances are we will play it on the show. Once again, that is 707-532-LBOX.
Pick up the phone. It's hot. I'm all alone.
All right, that's enough, Pat. You're creeping me out.
Hey, this is Rick calling from upstairs, and I just wanted to leave a Batman joke. So why can't Bruce Wayne get a second date? He has bat breath.
That's it for this episode of Saturday Matinee Theatre. If you'd like to hear more from us in the realm of comic books, action films, and more, check out the Longbox Crusade. Pat, where can they find that?
Well, Jason, I'm glad you asked. You can find the Longbox Crusade on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and most of the podcatchers that are out there. And we are also on YouTube, or we're at www.longboxcrusade.com. We're also on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and again, YouTube, all at Longbox Crusade. Back to you, Jason.
And if you want to hear us on our track through all the James Bond stuff, we got movies, we got soundtracks, we got books, we got comic books, great interviews. Check out On Her Majesty's Secret podcast. Jared, where can they find that?
It's been a while since I visited the studios. It's me, Christopher Walken, your part-time roommate. I appreciate you guys. Let me come, let me go, and show my appreciation. I got you something. If you go outside the studios, out in the parking lot, that's your own blimp. LBC blimp. You guys can go fly around like some dumb Ninja Turtles or something. I don't care what you do with it. Enjoy your blimp. Chris, you never did tell him where to find out. All right. He's gone. All right, I'll do it. I'll do it. At least we got a blimp out of it, guys.
Yeah, let's do it from the blimp, I guess.
I guess it's going to be fun to ride around in this blimp. Anyways, yeah, On Her Majesty's Secret podcast can be found on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and most podcatchers. You can go to www.secretpodcast.podbean.com or check us out on Twitter at OHMSPod. So get your James Bond fix with us in those locations.
Anybody else want to drop out?
It's a good one. I get it.
And if you'd like to chat with us online, we can be found at Pat, kick us off.
Well, Jason, I'm glad you asked. You can find me on the Twitter at Christatos01. Delvin?
Twitter, DEE_RAY1977. Jared.
I am at Yard Sale Artist, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And you can check out my artwares at www.theyardsaleartist.com. And I'm also available for rent if you need Christopher Walken impressions.
Well, people are going to be calling 707-532-5269 for that, I'm sure.
Phones are going to be lighting up.
Going to be blowing up.
Well, what's the reverse of pick up the phone? Phone me up, pick. Oh, man. I'm f***ing up on my own editing. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jason. Finish us up.
And you can find me at Weasel Skull on Twitter or Jason Albrick on Facebook and Instagram. Well, thank you all for joining us for this episode of Saturday Matinee Theatre. We'll see you next episode as we return to the... Ooh, did my eyes read this right? The final episode?
Oh, man.
Oh,
man.
The good times are coming to an end. Well, it's the last episode of our coverage of the 1954 Sherlock Holmes TV series for the case of the Tyrant's Daughter. The meetup location, 221B Baker Street, one last ride.
How do I say goodbye?
Please remember to replace the speaker on the post when you leave the theater.
Outtakes. Let's talk about some adventures of Ken Colton Green Batman.
He's merciless.
For real. Good
Ken
grief.
Colton ain't around. Let's talk about that.
I'll blow this up.
I'll kill everybody.
And he did.
Oh, my goodness.
All right. Anybody need a break? Or we cranking?
Crank.
All right. You speak.
Also, you better shut that ice up.
That's fair. That's fair. I can't argue with it. Sweet and sour sauce all over my mouth.
What? Wait, what was that? Look, sir. He wants it his way. Come on. Sauce. Rap.
Are we done? Are we all done? Okay. Because here I go.
What's that, Pat?
We got to move again. First it was Mongo.
Yeah, we got to move to Sherwood Forest.
Yeah. Now we got to move again. I got the import-export.
This sucks at Sherwood Forest. Nobody can find us.
Yeah, the internet's not great. But Pat, there's a lot of land for planting things.
That's true. That is very true. All right.